Hey guys, Hobo Yeti here. How's it going? So today I'm doing something a little different. I want to talk about some lessons that can be learned from hobos, specifically to preppers. I've always been a prepper, basically most of my life. Toward the latter years, I started going more the hobo direction. And when I'm talking about hobo, I'm talking about modern day hobos. Travel however you can, hitching, walking, riding a bicycle, however you're doing it, just traveling and living sort of a minimalist, survivalist sort of lifestyle. Before that, as a prepper myself, I can say in a lot of ways being a prepper is tends towards gear heavy items, maybe gadgets that kind of work, relying overly on an item to give you the security that you need when that may not be the optimal route to go. And I know this is a stereotype, it's an archetype, stereotypes pigeonholing people, and not everybody's like this, and I get it. But as a general rule, I would say that it's accurate. When I was a prepper, I don't know, 20 years ago, in my 30s, I went out and bought like a backpack. I wanted a solid backpack, and in my head, it worked out because I was like, okay, this, is Army Navy surplus, external frame, like Marine molly bag kind of thing. And I was like, this is what's going to work. But when I got it, and it was cool, but I mean, maybe it was feeding into that sort of younger ideological sort of idea of having, a survivalist backpack. And backpack was like 10 pounds, man. It was heavy. As the years went by and I started doing like my walk across America, I would do my my brief stint on the Appalachian Trail. I've learned a lot since the early days, and that is to go light. Rely more on adaptability, rely more on, instead of going with like having a titanium spork slash, what was it? I had a spork slash knife can opener, instead of getting that, I would and it was titanium, so it was pretty light, but instead of doing that, I would just get like a plastic spoon or something like that, or a stick. You don't really need a spoon. A stick and, tilting up a can of something to your mouth works. But I'm going to go over 19 lessons that, maybe y'all can learn something out there, maybe from hobos and how they live, because it's a little bit different. The traveling, when you're homeless like I am currently, you tend to rely on things that are just going to work and are solid and sturdy. But if you're going to be traveling, if you're going to be bugging out, or a lot of post-apocalyptic fiction is based on, the end of the world comes and you're halfway across the country. How are you getting home, right? And so having a lightweight gear is important. Number one is travel light and efficiently. The thing is if you have a choice, if you're prepping for, if you're prepping for potentially walking, a couple 100 miles, I'm telling you, go lightweight. You can never go wrong with lightweight. Instead of getting that molly bag, get an Osprey backpack. One of these things that weighs like maybe a pound. It's got all the support you need. The thing is hobos, homeless people, nomads, we're living the dream out there, right? But we're living in a real sort of everyday kind of way, and experiencing, having, to deal with the situations and the scenarios that you're thinking about, right? So you may have a weapon, and that's fine, and that's going to be some weight on you. But I'm telling you, as a 50 6-year-old man carrying a 50-pound pack plus water is not, it's not just that you're going to be tired. You're not going to be able to do it. By the end of the day, you're going to be throwing stuff out on the side of the road. Try to stick under 20 pounds. That's the key. Try to keep your pack under 20 pounds. And you're not used to using these trapezius muscles, right? You're going to be going hard, and you're going to, staying alert and all that. And a lot of times, if you're going to be maybe trudging through the bush, since you don't want to walk on the road necessarily. I mean, I'm just saying, go start out light, because water is going to be a lot of your pack weight anyway, right? What it's 8 pounds per gallon. That's a lot of weight to be carrying, and especially you're going to be drinking that down. So anyway, that's one. Number two is resourcefulness. Repurposing easy to find items, getting a trash bag and using that. You don't always need something like a couple years ago I had a tent, and I got it off of REI Co-op or whatever is the one of those discounted items, and I liked the tent, but it was bright orange, and that was terrible for my stealth camping needs. So I went ahead and bought some contractor bags, which are pretty thick and pretty big, and I cut them up and I used duct tape, and I made this really just kick-ass tarp. It was great, and it was very lightweight, and it fit to the kind of it went all the way down to the ground, and it didn't have to be flared out. It was the perfect situation for that. But I found pieces of plastic, pieces of cardboard that I could use that work just as good or better than items you would get at a store or something. Number three, stealth camping. I think that when you buy a tent, especially if you're buying, or a bivvy or whatever you're buying, you're relying on the camouflage, maybe pattern on it, maybe digital camo, something like that. You're relying on the item that you don't have to do anything with. And I'm just going to tell you that's not out there. The best option for stealth camping is finding spots that are out of view. I learned early on in my hobo days when I was walking across the country that if you go on well-trodden paths or even game trails, that's not the best place to lay down your tent. You want to go into, you want to have to break your own path through thorns and bushes and just into the serious bush, right? And then you clear a space and you put your tent, because nobody's going to happen upon you there. You set it down low, a tent with a good low profile, and throw some dead leaves on it if they're there, or any kind of brush or anything, grasses that you can find, twigs. Make a berm so that if they're looking there, it doesn't have to be a solid berm. It could just be twigs that are kind of piled up so that it breaks up, kind of like a ghillie suit, right? Just breaks up your profile, and that's what you're looking for. Number four, foraging for food. Now, I'm not one of these kind of hobos, but I have several friends that can identify wild edible plants, which is freaking great. He goes, and that's one of the things that's on my bucket list, right? He catches small games, use fishing, eat fishes, stuff like that. I'm more of a, if I'm absolutely, I'll put out a sign, or I'll find a dumpster and find one of those black bags they have in there, because the clear bags are for everything else, and they have the black bags they put the food in that's just recently thrown out that's still good. My buddy, he was talking to me, and he's like, you come across roadkill or something, there's part of that you can take, and especially if you're walking down the road and it's let's say the EMP went off, right? What are you gonna do? You've got a couple of days worth of food. You see some roadkill. you see a dumpster, you know, most people just walk on by. You know, they're like, I've got a couple days worth of food. I'm going to set some traps and set some game. You know, I think we all learned from the Alone show, or maybe just survivalist type stuff, is like you take what you can get when you can get it. You don't wait until you're hungry. You know, you eat. You go for sources that are available, even if you're you know, go into a garbage can and, you know, find a half-eaten pizza. That's what you eat. You know, you find something that's usable, and you get those calories in you. Number 5 is water sourcing and purification. Ability to locate natural water sources, and this is not just out in the wild. I mean, this is a lot of times like there'll be bags on the ground. I mean, it's easy to find the Pacific Northwest. Water is not hard to find, but finding like you know, sometimes you'll carry like what is it called, a water key, but it's, you know, sometimes if you're out and about, maybe it's not a serious shit hit the fan situation. Maybe it's not something that's going to affect the superstructure. So having that water key, I forgot the name of it. Anyway, you know, you can access faucets in different places. But you know, knowing how to find that, collect rainwater, boil water. I know a lot of hobos will carry bleach, just a small bottle of bleach to, you know, just put a couple of drops in there and you're good. You know, and I guess you could get those iodine pills, but, you know, just a few drops of bleach usually makes it taste better. I have a, what do you call it, a water filtration system, like a Sawyer squeeze kind of deal. That works for me. That and a bandana to help me get rid of the larger particulate so it doesn't stop up. You know, it doesn't go into the all those little pieces of matter. They don't go into the filter and clog it up, and I have to back flush it and all that crap. Shelter construction. Like I said, I think as a prepper, you tend to rely on the gear and be like, okay, this is going to mesh with the wildlife. But, you know, how to erect tarps, you know, especially in the cold or rainy time, you know. A lot of times you can just set that sucker directly. The best way for me is to set up my tent, because I always have a tent because I attract bugs to my body, and they bite the crap out of me, as you can see, right? So what I'll always do, and these are scars from when I had scabies, and that was horrible, but I still have scars from it. But I'll set up my tent and then set up a tarp right on top. The tarp is going to take, you know, it's going to take 10 degrees off the outside temp. And it's going to cocoon your warmth in there. It's also going to, you know, I don't usually set it up all crazy. I might flare it out on the front or something, but I don't want, you know, I want rain just running right off of it. Find like high ground and stuff like that. Sorry, I lost my place. I'm going down a list because I'm taking some medication that's making me very, anyway, shelter construction. Okay, we just did that. First aid knowledge. My, you know, I've had one of those little, you know, all you can, you know, one size fits all, like little med kit. This is mine now, and it has some things in it that are maybe not widely used. I've got this, where is it? So, a nasal thing to break up decongestion. I've got ivermectin, and people don't agree with me to doing that. I've got, you know, Neosporin. I've got one of those little mentholated nasal things, just in case, you know, you're sleeping outside. You know, there's basically, so having the right stuff in your medical kit that's going to work. And like, I don't have any Band-Aids in there. If I need to use anything, I'll use a bandana or a sock or something like that. Yeah, I don't carry Band-Aids. I mean, duct tape works too. Sometimes I'll get that like Leco tape or whatever, but like for the most part, I just don't bother. You know, I'm always bumping into something, you know. So there's that. but also, recognizing the signs of hyperthermia, knowing what how to treat infection, recognizing that you have infection. You live in this kind of outside world, and you got to be really in tune with your body, I don't know. So, but mainly for me, it's about having a better medical kit that's very lightweight. I usually, like if I'm traveling, I'll just get Ziploc bags and put all my pills in Ziploc bags and put them in my medical kit, and I get rid of all the little, what do you call it? Pill bottles. Adaptability. So, adjust to changing weather conditions. That's important. If it's going to have a flash storm for 3 days, you're going to have to change your normal, I don't know, when I was walking across the country in 2015, I ended up seriously, I went to this field and I woke up in, 6 inches of water in my tent. It was just this flash flood that came on, and that was unpleasant. So, but also if it's going to get colder, you're going to build you're going to spend a little bit more time building up your tent and putting, getting any kind of insulation you can, getting yourself off the ground, building up insulation with whatever you can, and a lot of times that involves going through a trash can, grabbing some cardboard, you know what I mean? You're not, in today's America, it's rare that you're going to find yourself out in the woods kind of thing, out in the bush, more than likely you're going to be on a road next to something, and you got to set yourself up a camp. But a couple of pieces of cardboard, some plastic, trash bags that you can find in there, just whatever, pieces of styrofoam, that's going to help you out. That's going to help you stay warm more than most things. But let's see, modified plans based on new information. I think that's kind of everybody, but you have to embrace sort of a flexible mindset. You have to be like, okay, if this happens, that it's like a programming language, right? If this, then this. If this, then this. You got to keep yourself open. You can't be just like, this is the way I'm going to do it. This is the road I'm going to go down. If you encounter this, then this. And there's always that sort of thing. Number 10, let's see what we got here. Start looking down, but self-defense techniques. Carry simple defense tools. Good for hit and run. I'm not a fighter. If I'm going to be doing any kind of outside walking or traveling, I'm going to have either a good walking stick or staff, and I'm not just talking about a hollow metal tube. I'm going to have something that I can use as a baseball bat sort of thing, but that is camouflaged as something else, right? I remember I had this, I was walking across the country, and I was in Alabama or some crap, and it had these side bars that went around the tires on my cart, and I just didn't like them, but I kept one of those bars on top, and I got accosted by a dog pack of 15 dogs, and they were barking and growling and stuff, and one jumped at me, and I just went, poof. It actually got out of the way and didn't bother me after that. But it was you want to have something that could be disguised as something else that's going to be used for safety. I want something that's going to keep animals away from me or people away from me. I want to keep that distance. But then, I usually will have a screwdriver or something in case they do get too close. So, and I'm big on okay, I'm not gonna some animal attacks me. I don't know. My goal is going to be to get away, not to get into a cage match with it. Hit and run. Kind of techniques. Number 11 is tool crafting. So, you can carve utensils from wood. Some people do that. A lot of times, I've just gotten a stick and just peeled the bark off of it and used it as a stirrer or a spoon or a shoveler into my mouth. A lot of people will go out and buy a trowel, right, so that they can bury their poop. I'll just use a stick, just use a stick. That way I'm keeping it in the area. I'm not, it's just working. But there's other things you could do. Fashion fishing hooks from, bones, thorns. I don't know, even like any kind of wire, paper clips. Anything that you can find that's going to work for you. Something you can. A lot of times, if you go into a doctor's office, they'll have like paper clips just kind of floating around. You'll have a pen. I'm not saying you can make a weapon out of a pen, but maybe you could. I don't know. Plant fibers for making rope. I was telling my buddy about this yesterday. I was like, I use, like when I first got out here, he was like, okay, well, what are you going to do for $100 or less? You got nothing. And I was telling him for cordage, I bought, for $1, I bought like this big ball of yarn. And yeah, I had to I had to twist it up 2 or 3 times to make it worthwhile. But, you do what you got to do. I'm not going to sit, I guess if I was out in the bush, I would try to make something out of the wilderness, braid some rope together. But, I'm more of a scavenger in a sense, of taking what's available and making it the easiest thing I could make from that. I would even take strips of plastic and wind them up, just whatever is going to be the easiest for that time frame. And then I could upgrade later, right? Number 12 is clothing maintenance. I carry in my, I don't know where I have it now, but I carry a needle and thread, hands down. Sometimes, duct tape works in a very temporary sort of way. Like, if I ever rip my tent, I'll take a piece of duct tape on one side and on the other, so it'll touch where it's open, and it creates sort of a seal. But over time, dirt gets in it, and it gets all messed up on either side. So actually sewing it up, sewing pants up, sewing, you're wearing the same pair of pants day after day. They might be new, but they don't make clothes like they used to typically. And so if, you get a hole in them, you can just take a piece of cloth from something else and just sew it on. That becomes a patch, right? But layering your clothes for installation. I'm not, we all saw that movie where the guy's like taking stuff and paper. That works very temporarily, and it's better just to have to set up your installation to begin with. If you have to, there are ways that you can add insulation to your clothing. Anyway, but one of the things it says here that I put on here, using garbage or natural materials for warmth, getting wood. Sometimes you find something out there, the thing is when you're in a survival sort of situation, and as a hobo, homeless guy, it's pretty much all the time. My first rule of thumb is not to draw attention. But if I'm not worried about drawing attention, and also depends on how severe the survival situation is. Like if it's, if I'm having trouble starting a fire, for instance, and I'm stuck out here, and I'm trying to get warm. If I found some oil, like some car oil or something, I would probably use that to. It'd probably be smoky and all that crap, but staying warm is key, right? Let's see. So mental resilience, that's important. Having a good outlook despite the conditions. I think that ties in with the adaptability. Honestly, it's like you go down the road and you might not even get very far down the road. Everything's based on whatever There's never just like, I'm going to go from here to there. It's, I'm going to go from here down the street. I'm going to have to make a left because the road's closed or something's happening, or maybe there's a wildfire, or, there's always something. So having a positive outlook is key to emotional survival, really. But you develop, good problem solving skills. As a hobo, homeless person, you're like, okay, how am I going to fix this? Even when you're just at a campsite and something happened to your gear, or maybe there's a homeless camp right next. What am I going to do about that? What if, how do I not get noticed? Things like that. Basically you're just always aware. I think somebody pointed out to me that, I'm always looking around when I'm doing these videos, and that's because my ears are open to what's going on out there. I want to know, it's practicing mindfulness and awareness and keeping that, stay frosty, stay aware of what's going on. Because even though I'm kind of back here in the bush a little bit, there's some stuff over there that I don't want people to walk by and see. They wouldn't really see me anyway, but it's always good to know what's going on, finding problems before they become problems. And that ties in with number 14, disguise and blending in. A lot of times you're going camo. I got a buddy of mine who he would ride his bike. He had an electric bike, and he has a solar panel on it. And he was getting stopped by cops. What are you doing? Are you homeless? All this stuff. Then he went out and bought like this biker, bicyclist, the spandex and the shirt and the helmet, whatever. And suddenly everything changed around for him. Like suddenly the cops were like, "Hey, how are you doing? You doing okay?" I mean, just weird, but wear inconspicuous clothing. Don't wear dirty clothes if you can help it. I mean, in the Pacific Northwest, it's honestly hard to look worse than the residents. I mean, like I might be homeless, but a lot of them are kind of the style of the times is raggedy ass stuff, and so. But anyway, but try to blend in, don't be sitting in front of a Walmart like all day, you know what I mean? Like, sit there for a little bit, sure, but then move on. Don't be that person in somebody's mind, mimic local behavior, customs, speech patterns, try not to stand out. If somebody's talking in a country accent, well, shoot, that's fun for me. Let's do that. I did actually spend like 10 years of my life in Texas, so, but kind of be more relaxed with that. Shoot. But avoid drawing attention to unfamiliar areas. Like a lot of times, like you'll find a great spot, but you have to go across this large, wide open field, and there's a road going right by that. That turns that spot into a no-go for me. For the most part, there are ways around that, but like don't draw attention to yourself or going into, because they'll see that and they'll be like, "Well, I know old Billy Bob over there. He owns that property, and we're gonna call the cops on him." You know what I mean? Time management. Prioritize tasks based on urgency. Basically, daylight hours are the hours that you got. That's it. I mean, you can do things at night, but it draws attention. You want to have, like, once you have your tarp on and, your tent up, there's still going to be, light that's going to be escaping unless you got unless you're underneath your blanket or whatever. And there's not much you can do at night. You could repair your clothes, I suppose. There are things you could do, but for the most part, the daylight hours, you need to make your most of those daylight hours. Let's see. Animal behavior understanding, recognizing the signs of aggressive wildlife, using animal tracks to find water. I've never done that. I've put that on here. Anyway, maybe that works. I don't know. Maybe if I don't know. I guess if I was traveling hobo style, I would just look for houses with spigots. Sometimes I'll come across like a field that'll have a spigot. Sometimes a camping area that you can just kind of go up and grab some water. I don't know. I think I would stay more outside of looking. I would look for water in town basically before I'd look for it out in the woods and crap. But there are areas in the woodlands that you can find water. Let's see. Avoid Areas frequented by predators. That's a good one, especially with my encounter with the puma. Yeah, there's, you just got to be aware of your situation. When I encountered that puma in 2015, man, it was like, I'd been walking along the side of the road and it came at me. And then after that, I read that if you see a cougar, it means it has been tracking you for the last 30 minutes. And I'm like, holy crap. And that's when I started noticing that all along the side of the road were these, 3-foot tall grasses. And I'm like, paranoid and running. But just, turning around every few seconds, But let's see. Okay. Anyway, I guess knowing what kind of wildlife is out there, dangerous wildlife, snakes, spiders, rodents of any kind of killer rodents, like in Monty Python, but or rabbits, right? I don't know. Let's see. Use nonverbal cues to convey messages. That's, I don't know. If you're in a group, that would be important. So effective communication. Yeah. So talking in a local accent or parlance of how people talk. Basic phrases in a couple of different languages. Water, food, please help, local customs, it's different. The different parts of the country you're in, definitely there's a different way of handling things. I don't know. I know in the Deep South, people are just a lot cooler to homeless people for the most part. In the Pacific Northwest, they consider them like a wolf, eating or taking their cattle or whatever, or a puma or something. It's like they're just very aggressive. So just understanding that. Let's see, 18, situational awareness, constant modeling, modern, there it goes. I took that medication, it's making me loopy. Constantly monitor surroundings for potential threats, safety zone, escape routes, recognize signs of danger and aggressive behavior. The thing is there have been times when I set my tent down and I had to get out of it fast. And I was able to, from being completely rested in my tent, to setting up to getting out of my tent, setting up, taking down my tarp, taking down my tent, 3 minutes. Being able to adapt and get out of a situation. I'm big on maybe there's other hobos out there that have a different mindset than how I do things, but for me, it's all about Bigfoot, right? Not seen, rarely seen, but not often, and just kind of blending in, camouflage, incognito mode hobo, right? Like, it's a big thing for me. And like, if I see people come across, if, for instance, I was out here and I was on the road and somebody came across, somebody was walking through the woods for whatever. As soon as I saw that, packing up and leaving, finding another spot. I don't like people to know where I sleep. I like to think that I sleep pretty, aware to what's going on around me, but maybe I don't. And I don't like the idea of waking up to somebody, pointing a gun at me or whatever. Anyway, let's see, 19, respect local laws and customs. There's cultural norms. There is... a lot of times you can go through an area and ask for permission or ask for, okay, hey, copper, where is the local, where is a good place to sleep overnight, and you don't have to go to that spot. In fact, I had a situation that I asked a cop that, and anyway, he sent me to a sketchy area, which was not cool, but whatever. But sometimes if they're just talking to you, because they'll stop you every now and again, and you have to give them, your ID. I guess you don't have to technically, but I try to always be polite and, whatever when I can. Unless I'm walking down the coast, like if I'm in town, I don't look homeless, you know. The goal is not to look homeless. And I carry cane with me, and that's sort of my camouflage too, because I can blend in as just an older guy that's just out and about, you know, and all that. But anyway, that's the 19 things I've got here, and I think that's, you know, those are definitely things that, you know, we can all learn something, you know, and as I've said before, you know, hobos are the modern day homeless. They are living the life. You know, I mean, you may have a bug out location to go to and live that way, but, you know, we're like beta testing a shit hit the fan scenario for you on a daily basis, you know? So, you know, I mean, obviously, if you guys have any comments, anything to add, please put it in the comments and let me know. And also feel free to tell me how I'm stereotyping all preppers and all hobos, or not, maybe not do that. But anyway, I hope this stuff helps and gives you a little bit to think on. I hope your road's a good one, and if you're homeless, I hope it doesn't suck for you. Take care.